hey, is there anything hard out there? He goes, the SEALs are hard, but you shouldn't do it. I'm like, why? He goes, you won't make it. I'm like, why? He goes, nobody makes it. I was like, I'm in. Let's do it. I need a mentor. I'm getting out in a few years and I have no clue what to do. And that is the single best investment I have ever made in my entire life.
Some people wait for opportunity. Others fight for it. Welcome to Tactical Wealth, the show where discipline, service, and real-world experience become pathways to financial power. I'm your host, Kaj Larson. On each episode, we bring you the stories and the wisdom of those who have gone from boots on the ground to successful careers, from military to wealth, and how they've done it so you can apply those insights to your own mission and your own life. This is Tactical Wealth, from military to money. All right, welcome to another episode of Tactical Wealth, this time from San Diego. San Diego is a mecca for military folks who have turned to business or the private sector. Specifically, it is a cornucopia of SEALs who are doing interesting things outside of the military context. And perhaps no more impressive at the top of that pyramid is my friend, my former teammate, retired Navy SEAL Commander Jimmy May. Welcome to the show.
Cool. Thanks for having me, Kaj.
Yeah. So Jimmy's a fascinating guy. You spent 20 plus years in the SEAL teams, right?
I did 22 years in the teams. Yep.
That's amazing. And Jimmy's post-service career has been almost entirely focused on helping military members achieve success in the civilian world. And that whether that's building his own companies or inspiring other service members over the course of their service members' journey. But before I get into what you're doing now and how you're helping people transition, how you're continuing to lead from the front, I don't really know. I know we were in buds at the same time, but how did you come to the SEAL teams?
So when I got out of high school, I didn't have a lot of opportunity. My family wasn't real well off. And so I enlisted in the military, just like most of the males in my family. And I went into nuclear power. I'm not super sharp, but I test really well. And the nuclear power was a really bad fit for me. I did it because it's automatic E3 and it was like really hard to get in. And I did it. But when I got it, it was not the right community. So I got a scholarship to go to Texas A&M. Basically, some lady, I was struggling in nuclear power school. I had like a 3.1, but I studied a lot. It was really hard for me. And then when I fixed some lady's car on the side of the road. She was broken down. It turned out to be the captain of my command's wife. And she got my name, gave me some pizza money. I thought that was fair. So, but I ended up getting an award from that guy. And he was like, hey, if I can ever help you, let me know. And I was like, well, I got an officer package in, but it's not going well because my SATs aren't good. He goes, give it to me. Boom. Texas A&M. That's where I went. So I got there. I decided I was not going back to nuclear power. I was looking for something hard to do because I thought college was ridiculous. I never went to class, like a 3.6 GPA. I thought it was dumb. I just was looking for something hard, and my uncle was in the Navy, and he had a good Navy career. A lot of my family didn't, but he had a good Navy career. And I was like, hey, is there anything hard out there? Like, he goes, the SEALs are hard, but you shouldn't do it. I'm like, why? He goes, you won't make it. I'm like, why? He goes, no. I was like, I'm in. Let's do it. That's the only reason. I don't have anything better than that.
And people don't realize, too, that like sort of quietly, Texas A&M is quite a feeder program for the SEAL teams. There's a lot of alumni.
That the only one other than Texas A&M that has more than us is the Naval Academy. Yeah, it is a big feeder program.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So you were, and again, there's like, one of the things about doing this podcast is there's all these like lessons learned and baked in, sort of organically, intrinsically into the conversation. But one of the recurring themes is always like, who you surround yourself by determines your trajectory.
Absolutely.
So if you're at the Naval Academy like I was, or if you're at Texas A&M like you were, and you're surrounded by a bunch of people who are aspirational to the SEAL teams, it increases the probability that you'll end up.
And I went into they have a SEAL prep program, just like they do with the Academy. And I went into that to escape the Corps of Cadets because I was prior military. I get there, and these guys are yelling at me about the military. I'd never been in the military, and I don't take well to being yelled at. And then I saw these guys, they come in late to breakfast. They're all sweaty and nasty. They just work out. They don't do any stupid uniform stuff. And I was like, who are those guys? like, oh, they want to be SEALs. I'm like, that seems better than running around changing my uniform 10 times in the morning and all this stupid getting yelled at by these kids. And so I just went into that, and that was it. You're right. The stream took me in, and before long I was all in.
Yeah. And well, I know the highlights of your career. I know that ultimately, like you commanded, you're the deputy commander of the task force in Iraq, right?
The Siege of Soda, yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
Siege of Soda.
So for our non-military folks, it's uh, about 1,400 people from 11 different nations, and that was kind of like the highest rank. I wouldn't say that's my culmination, but that was probably the biggest group I've led.
Right. And look, I know you were super successful throughout the SEAL teams, but one of the things that's most interesting to me is at some point you rotated out and you're actually director of training for NSW, right? At Buds, you took over Buds.
Yeah, so I was number two. I was the XO, executive officer. So I was number two at Buds, and it was like a transformational time because we had a student, after they quit in Hell Week, almost everyone quits in Hell Week. He quit after his man talk. Instead of going back to go to sleep, he drove down to the downtown San Diego and jumped off the 24th floor of the Marriott.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so we had to look at our program and be like, hey, we need to put some more controls on these young men. And so it was a big time.
Yeah, yeah. And what did you learn about like the characteristics and the attributes of like watching all of these guys go through training? Some making it, most not making it.
Yeah, one of the first things I learned is you can't pick. You don't know. I mean, I bet you could look at your bud's class. This big stud quits on the first day. Some little scrawny dude is just still, under the boat putting out for his team. So you can't tell. That is something that I learned. And during our time, they were trying to get more SEALs through because like, hey, we don't have enough. We need more of you. And I think that was misguided because I mean, if I told someone to sit in that chair for 5.5 days, it would suck just doing that. Now imagine running with a boat on your head, being frozen, getting yelled at. If you're 200 miles, that's what we run during Hell Week. I mean, I learned a lot about the whole Hell Week process, and it's just not something we can mass
I
produce.
actually didn't know that. I did it, but I
Oh,
didn't
you
know
did?
it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Wow,
Yeah,
yeah.
me too. I thought Hell Week was this big chaos thing.
Yeah.
Dude, it is planned down to the minute. The temperature tables, how long people stay in the water, it is super, super planned. But it just felt like chaos when we did it.
Yeah, yeah, fascinating. And you said something like, "Look, we know Hell Week is hard. Like we could talk about it all day long." But you said something interesting about when you were at A&M that what you were looking for was like do hard things, right? And one of the things that this is not just about like transitioning service members. Like if I'm mentoring like young entrepreneurs or whatever, young men, young women, like young people, I always say that you have to like do something hard in your 20s. Like you have to have this seminal experience
Yeah.
and like do something hard. I don't care what you do, but it's got to be you could go work at Goldman and do like 80-hour work weeks like but you got to like build that foundation in your 20s as
Agree.
a springboard. Has been that been your experience as you've transitioned towards entrepreneurship?
Well, so I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'm 48, but getting into entrepreneurship, I didn't even know I was an entrepreneur. And when I didn't know what I was going to do. So I found a guy, actually, he found me. His name is Steve Gattina, who's the CEO of Pray.com. Phenomenal dude. And that guy asked me to come talk to his group because I teach combat leadership in the SEAL teams, the platoon leaders course. I've been doing that for a long time. So somebody gave him my name and he's like, will you come talk to us? I was
And
like,
this is while you're still on
this is,
active
I'm still
duty.
active. I'm like, no, I don't do that. He goes, oh, Mark Haas said you might, who's one of my jujitsu training partners. And I was like, okay. So I went, I did it. And he's like, hey, we got to pay you. I'm like, you can't pay me. I'm like, I just did this because Mark asked me to. He goes, well, what can we do? I was like, I need a mentor. I'm getting out in a few years and I have no clue what to do. And that is the single best investment I have ever made in my entire life. That dude delivered. To this, I text him every single day. We talk. It's an ongoing conversation from like 10 years. And he has been, the key to guiding me. And then what he gave me, I'm trying to give to the other SEALs behind me that are coming up.
That's extraordinary. Okay. So talk me through that process. What year is this?
This is 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was the
2015.
XO at Buds during that
You're
time.
the XO Buds. You're thinking about transitioning, or you're coming up on your 20, and you're going to be getting out in a few years.
Well, my body was pretty beat up. I mean, it's a young man's game. I got fake hips, I got rods connect my hips to my legs. I got a torn labrum in my shoulder. I got a broken wrist right now. Like it's been one big rehab the last like 5 years. So I knew my time was numbered. I was just going to get out because I came in to be a tactical guy. I know people are like, you came to be an officer. I'm like, no, I didn't. I came in to be an operator. That's what I wanted to do. And my career reflected that. I never took a staff tour. I said, I don't care if you don't promote me. It doesn't matter to me because I liked being in the fight with the guys. And 14 straight years, I didn't miss it a point.
Yeah. And so as you're thinking about transitioning out, where was your visage? What were you thinking? Or you really didn't know?
I didn't know. So the first thing I did was I had an opportunity to like, hey, what business school do you want to do? And so I looked at it, and this is something for your viewers. If you're looking at a business school, I don't think you're going to learn anything in business school that teaches you about business. That's just me. That being said, it's the network you get, and it's a regional network. Most of them are regional. So like if you're going to Texas, Texas A&M or Texas, that's where you need to be. But I didn't know where I was going to end up. So I was like, well, what's national, what's worldwide? Stanford, Harvard. And I started applying on the bottom, but everyone accepted me. So then I decided to start top and work my way down. So I got into Harvard and I went to the program for leadership development. It's a 9-month program. Phenomenal. It's probably the best way to make the transition because these are all people who are just below the C-suite. So they've got a lot of runway, right? So now all my classmates from 2017 are running businesses and I've got a phenomenal network built. But that was a really good choice. I was like, I'm just going to try and go to business school. And I didn't think I'd get accepted, but I did. And once I did, it's been, it was a little bit of rocket fuel for my transition.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you're not going to get any pushback from your fellow Crimson graduate. I say this all the time that like because I actually first got off active duty in '05, transitioned and went to Harvard, went to grad school then, and then I came back in through the reserves. But that period of time, that soft landing to get out, and the other thing is that like it's a cliche, but like your network determines your net worth, right? Like
Absolutely.
in the military, we're in these isolated communities where we don't have a ton of people from the
Yeah.
civilian sector,
Yeah.
and our socioeconomic peers are all building their careers and meeting people and
Yeah.
all of this stuff. So
Yeah.
one way to like sort of leapfrog, that challenge is to go to school, surround yourself with people
Hmm.
who think different and are different and are on different career trajectories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're both like proof in the pudding of that as a successful stratagem to
Yeah, I just wanted to hear a different side and actually, because a lot of the schools would talk to me like, "Hey, yeah, it's real relaxed here, and you can, show up in jeans and flip flops." And I'm like, "Well, I've been in the SEAL teams, and we kind of do that already.
yeah.
I think let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Let's get a real stuffy." And Harvard can be a little stuffy, a
Yeah.
lot of wood on the walls and 3-piece suits. I'm like, yeah, let's.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I loved my experience there. It transformed who I am. The relationships were like seminal to like my career building. So that's great. So okay, so you get out, you're off active duty, you have this like soft landing transition, and then when did you decide to go down the route of entrepreneurship, vice like say going into investment banking or something like that, like so many or McKinsey, like so many other HBS grads?
Yeah. So we talked about Steve Butina. He had me pegged as an entrepreneur from day one. And I was like, oh, I'm probably work HR for a company or something. I don't know why I said HR. I'm a people person, vice a process person. And he's like, you're an entrepreneur. And I got an opportunity to start a nonprofit to support the SEAL teams. And so we went into it and I started building it, but then something happened big. And within 4 months of my retirement, 4 guys died by their own hand. 2 who I knew really well, Mike Day and Bobby Ramirez. And I'm like,
And
hey,
maybe
we've
maybe I
got to
think
shift gears.
sorry to interrupt, but like I think people don't quite understand how hard Mike Day's suicide hit our community. Like, eh, I mean, you could probably tell the story better than me, but was Mike Day shot under your task force?
No, he wasn't with me on that. So Mike Day got shot 23 times. Basically, they made entry. He got shot 23 times by the bad guy. And then they thought he was dead. His team had to back off because you don't run into a room. I know it's not, you leave him. You're not leaving him. You can't throw more people into a meat grinder. That's not how you do it. You got to like back off and reassess. So they thought he was dead. They backed off. He wasn't dead. His SIG has been shot up too. He pulls it out and his right hand shot. He pulls his left hand out. He kills all 3 bad guys. He's listening to the comms about to drop the building. He's like, hey, they're all dead. Come get me. Don't drop the building. They get him out. They take him home. So 23
And
times he
right,
recovers.
and he like refuses the stretcher. Right, he walked to the helo right for Kazbek. Walked himself after being shot 23 times to the helo for Kazbek. Mike, they call him the Iron Frog of Fallujah, right? And that one hit me because it was like, holy shit, when Mike killed himself, if the Iron Frog of Fallujah could survive that, but he couldn't survive the transition to being at home, like, we have a fucking problem, a real problem.
We do. And, a lot of the things like the SEAL teams is such a small niche. It's not like an E6 in the teams is not like an E6 in the regular Navy. It's just not. An E6 in the Navy's got like a workstation they manage or whatever. An E6 in the teams, he's running a 300 person outstation on the edge of the empire, interface with heads of state on a normal basis, and has a master's degree probably. Like, it's just not the same guy. And so you talk about people getting to where they belong. I'm like, hey, these are guys who decided to serve. They'd be at the upper echelons of society. All you guys that got out when you did, you guys vaulted to the top. These guys that stayed in a little longer, they belong up there. We just have to like give them that little foothold.
Yeah. Okay. So you saw this real problem in our community, and that catalyzed you into action. And what'd you do?
Yeah, it hit me hard. And so I went for my board because it was a 501c3 we started. And I couldn't even spell 501c3. And now we're trying to like start one. And I went, and me and the board had different, I'm like, we've got to shift gears to the suicide thing. I was just really upset. One of them, and Bobby hung out with me for my retirement all weekend and killed himself on that Monday. I was like, it hit me so hard. Well, we have to do this. And the board and I kind of were butting heads about it because I'm like, no, I want to go to this. And they had a different plan. And so when we ended up, I told the board to fire me. I was like, you guys got to fire me. I'm not going to do this. Like I have a different plan. And they were like, you know what? We see what you're doing. We value it. It's not our vision. Take it. They gave me everything. They gave me the EIN. They gave me the whole 501c3. The money we'd earned, they gave it to me. And they're like, hey, it's not what we want, but it's an important mission. So I appreciate those guys. We're still on good terms. And then I thought about stopping. I was like, well, why am I doing this? It doesn't make any money. I started my regular for-profit business. I was doing really well. And one day I was teaching a class at MIT. I still do stuff in the Boston area. And I came out after that class and it was like a Wyatt Earp moment, and like when he's just like, no, and that's why I walked out. I was like, no. And I called up, first call was Jocko Willink. I'm like, hey buddy, I got a favor. He's like, oh buddy, favor, what am I doing? He's like, I'm busy, but the answer is yes. I'm like, okay. So I need him on my board. And then I called Steve, of course, Gio Coglatori. And then I called Greg McClelland, who's the CEO of Western Steel. I'm like, I need you guys to be on my board. They all said yes. And we made a hard pivot. And it's not a 501c3 world is hard. It's harder than my for-profit business, but it's been more rewarding than I'd ever imagine.
Yeah. And I would argue, I also started several nonprofits. I was on the board of Team Rubicon, which grew to be the largest veteran service organization in the country. Used my combat pay to help start Mission Continues, which also scaled into a large veterans service organization, kind of pioneering in the space. I think many of the rules, not all, but many of the rules for social entrepreneurship apply over to private sector, right? Like, building a nonprofit requires the same entrepreneurial skill set that building a for-profit does.
So this is my problem with it. When I do a job proof Mayday, I do the work, you get the service, you pay me. You ask for a donation for BTB, and it doesn't feel. It's a weird ask to ask someone for money. I suck at it, so that's one.
Yeah, me too.
That's what the hard part is for me. But like when I do something for you and we agree on a contract, boom, you pay me. That's how it is. Asking someone for money is a little harder for me.
Yeah, no, I have the same thing. It even carries over a little bit. It's actually why I kind of like scaled back all my nonprofit efforts. Like before I really transitioned hardcore into entrepreneurship and investing, I was much more firmly rooted in the not-for-profit and in the social entrepreneurship,
which is a great
space.
incubator, because I think it's harder, and all of a sudden you jump into regular business.
It
like,
is.
oh, this isn't so
Although, like, we could talk about raising capital later, but I think I had some scar tissue legacy effects from hating asking people for money on the nonprofit side to asking people for money on the for-profit side.
Yeah.
Same, like, this is I don't ask people for money. It's not in my core, even though like it's like, let me help you make money, right? Like if you believe in my idea, ultimately you'll return this, like 3x, 5x, 10x, but yeah. So, okay. So that was really your first foray. You're running in the nonprofit world. And then at what point did you decide to start building a for-profit business?
Well, so initially the board had voted me $150,000 a year paycheck. And I'm like, that's all donation money. Absolutely not. I don't want to do that. I was like, I'll make my own money. So I'll do this I reduced myself to $60,000 a year. And then I open up Mayday Executive. So I do high-end, safe experiences for team building stuff. we'll do whatever people want. And initially, it was a lot of like shooting ranges and spearfishing and skydiving. And now people have gone off the rails. I mean, we're
Okay.
crashing cars now. We're
Give,
doing J turns, pit maneuvers. We're blowing stuff up. People come up. I'm like, yeah, I can do it. I put the pencil to paper. Boom. Here's your quote. And it's the same customers over and over. Like, it's like I'm booked solid right now through May of next year. And I've got reservations through August, but I'm like tight through May.
okay, so the business is come have like a life-changing wild experience. This is Mayday
Is
Executives.
Mayday Executive. Yeah.
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 Come have a life-changing experience. I'll curate it. Super boutique, super concierge style, white glove.
No advertising, no
Right.
social media, nothing.
Okay.
It's all like a
Okay.
speakeasy. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. Obviously, I love it. Okay. So, a couple questions about that, just to help people understand how you build a business out of an idea. One, how'd you get the idea?
So I started off, I did that speech for Steve Gattina and his group, and they wanted an activity. And so I came up with just a scavenger hunt. I'm like, okay, you guys got to go around town and find these things. One was like the scariest thing in San Diego. They're kind of vague, right? Then they had to build a brief and they had to come back and brief it. And then I would heckle them like we would in the SEAL teams. And I kept score, and you could score points even for talking trash. And then at the end, it was this big subjective thing. Anyway, I did that. And Steve's like, you're onto something here. And then I started doing more
Was that like
activities.
kind of like you had like a special activities model in your brain or something?
No,
Like,
no. So my commander at Buds had sent me to a school called Design Thinking,
yeah.
and you read the book, yeah.
Sure.
So a little bit about that, and I kind of use that to like think about, okay, how do we get people to like get more engaged and physical activities, especially with a bunch of team guys. If they're sitting around, they're throwing rocks, they're breaking stuff. You need to point that energy in some kind of good. So I started doing that. It was well received, and then I did that, and then I started. We do a lot of lock picking now. Like we escape from restraints, we pick handcuffs, we pick locks, we pick door locks. And it's kind of a cool icebreaker because all of a sudden you're in each other's space. I don't know you, but now I'm helping you escape from this stuff. And then I don't know it. Now we do all sorts of crazy stuff. It is super fun. And like I'm booked. One a week is about what I can handle because gear wise, and I'm booked solid through next May.
But from building a business model template, essentially you had this idea, and then it came about because like somebody was saying, "Hey, what can you do?" kind of thing. So you had this idea, then you built like an MVP, basically, right? Like a
Yeah.
minimum viable product, and then,
Yes, I guess so.
and then you're
I,
like, "Oh,
I,
this is
I know
working."
these terms, but I didn't do those things.
Right, right, right. But I'm just trying to create an architecture and a model for people who might want to be thinking about going down this route of entrepreneurship. So then you created this minimum viable product, basically a beta test, and you're like, oh shit, this works. And then you said it's repeatable and scalable, and I can do more and more and more.
So one of the things I had to figure out was like, okay, I got to keep the overhead low. But to me, that was the key. I didn't so I'd start off with Sushi Assassin. We started off.
Yeah, I want to talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, and but it's all about keeping the overhead low because I'm like, hey, if this doesn't work, I don't want to I want to be able to like live to play another day. I don't want to like go completely under and then have to take a job I don't want. So for me, it wasn't hard. I would rent the weapons from people when I didn't have them, if I was doing a shooting event, or I would borrow, and just piece together till I had enough capital to where I could invest it and buy my own equipment. And once you buy your own equipment, now it's all profit. So like the first year, I kind of broke even by the time I bought everything, but now I have everything. It's like it's not that all I got to buy now is ammo.
And turnkey. And you have found the customer acquisition process easy.
Oh, there's
It's just
nothing
word.
better than word of mouth. I mean, I do a lot of work for YPO, the Young Presidents Organization, Entrepreneurs Organization. Every time you're in front of that group, that is all CEOs of other corporations who want to do team building stuff, who want to do stuff. So, you know, if you look at it in that perspective and you do a good job for people, I do good things for good people and I don't worry about the money. The money comes. I do a good job. I show up when I'm supposed to. People are surprised, like, wow, you just did it. I'm like, you told me to do it. But apparently that's not that common. I'm on time, I'm within budget, and I get back to people. And my partner is my sister. She runs my books, and that's what Mayday Executive is. And it's, if I didn't run beyond the Brotherhood, I would be able to make a lot more money. It's not about money.
Yeah, amazing. All right, I want to get into some like practical takeaways for people, but for that, we got to take like a detour and talk fish, like
Yeah.
Sushi Assassin.
Yeah. So I'm a big spear fisherman. You probably are too, team guy. Yeah. So we were down in Mexico and we caught about 200 pounds of yellowtail. And I'm driving back and I was like, man, what do I do with all this? I mean, I'm going to eat all this fish. We'll eat it, but is there a way I could? This is expensive stuff, And I had a buddy who was a sushi chef, and he's like, I can make sushi with that. I'm like, show me. He's a really good sushi chef, and I was like, well, let's. I want to learn about business, and so I just started it because I just got done with Harvard. So I'm like, hey, let's flex this new business muscle, just like in the teams. You finish the school, you come back, you do it immediately. It's like I just learned it. Now I'm teaching everybody. So that I just did it, and COVID hit, and it was one of the best things for us because nobody knows how to make sushi, but everyone loves sushi. So now we'll come into your house. You want to take a PCR test? We'll swab our nose, drop them in there. I can't make sushi. I suck at it, but this guy's really good. So we started booking. The problem with the sushi business is that the margins are really lean, super lean. So, if I buy a bunch of fish in 5 days, I can't use it anymore. So you got to be super tight on everything. And I wasn't making a lot of money. So I ended up giving it to the chef. I chalked it up as my learning lab. And, that was my tuition. Didn't cost me anything. And I get 2 free sushi dinners a year for up to 10 people until the year 2030.
That's ROI right there,
That's where
right?
my
Like that's
ROI is.
no, like I mean, Jimmy, you and I are so funny. Like this is the team guy like love thing. We could like skip a decade, not talk to each other, and
Yeah,
pick
yeah, yeah, yeah.
pick
Yeah.
right back up and realize we've been living these parallel lives, like where we both went to Harvard. I was like the early investor in a poke chain.
Oh, yeah. Which
Yes,
one?
Sweet
Poke
Pin.
123?
Yeah,
Or
you know Sweet Pin.
I've
It's
heard
kind
of it. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
We were at the last I checked. I exited the business, but 13 locations in LA, opened 2 in San Diego. We were going to go to New York. COVID, there's a whole thing. I'm out of the business now, but it was I was really excited about it. It was sort of like a passion investment because, like you, big spear fisherman, love poke, love Hawaii, right? I liked this idea of like healthy sustain, and I tried really hard to make the brand really sustainable. So this whole pole to bowl concept. I even took the founders, I remember, down to these fish farms down off of La Paz, and I
Oh,
like
I've been down
swam
there.
in the
Yeah,
pens
man.
with the kampachi, like the
Yeah, yeah.
healthiest fish or whatever.
Yeah.
But what I learned ultimately through that investment, through that business, is like these are like low margin businesses, and it's all about inventory control and portion control, which is really hard to
That's right.
do in these
Because you
businesses.
can't control all that stuff.
Yeah.
And like for me, we really made money when I speared a bunch of stuff. But if the fish ain't here and it's off season, we got to buy it. And so our margin would be lean. And all of a sudden in the summers, they spike because I've, speared a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they do say like invest in what you know,
Yeah.
right? And I know shooting fish and
That's
eating
right. I
them.
can shoot a fish. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Are you still spearfishing?
Yeah, I actually run a lot of spear events for people. So I have a whole suite full of the coolest equipment you could imagine. And so I'm taking my next event, actually, is a spearfishing event. I'm taking 2 guys out spearfishing this next weekend. Yeah.
For any of your businesses that you've built, so you really have like graduated into this like definition. You're a quintessential serial entrepreneur. You've built multiple businesses. Have you had to raise capital for any of the businesses?
No, I haven't. And this is something I made. This is a decision I've made. I'm not going to scale. I know that that's bad. As an entrepreneur, you're like, you got to scale. But you know what? I don't. Where I'm at in my life, I'm 48 years old. I'm getting ready to, like, in 5 years, I'm going to be retired for good and just do what I want. But right now, um, I don't need people depending on me for paychecks. Like BTB, I have a 5-person staff. It stresses me out when we get low on funds. You know what I mean? But like with Mayday, it's just me. I show up. I pay my sister. We don't have a whole lot of overhead, and we make a lot of money. So it's like all I'm going to do is that's my exit plan. I don't want to have the scale and lawyers. I don't want to run HR. I don't want to run policy. You know what I do? I go spearfishing with you. You know what? I jump out of a plane with you. I go crash a car with you. I do it with everybody. And I'm not interested in scaling. And there's a book called The Peter Principle that is about realizing, where you want to be and what success is to you. And so, do I want to sell Mayday someday? No, I don't. When I'm done, it'll be done. And for right now, I get to have a lot of personal, intense experience, life-changing experiences with a lot of really good people, and it's been really fulfilling for me.
Look, I think that the paradox of entrepreneurship is knowing when to listen to conventional wisdom, people who have paved the path
Mm,
before you, and knowing when to reject it.
yeah,
Right. And there there is no formula. It's why all these like instinct calls, like why ultimately like ultimate responsibility as the CEO, you're making these calls because there's sometimes where it makes sense to follow the herd
yeah,
and people have paved those path and learned those lessons in blood for a reason.
yeah,
And then there's other times where the definition of entrepreneurship is like being able to see the world not as it is, but as it could be. So all of these maxims and truisms, like they work 95% of the time. And then there's 5% of the time that they don't. We're sitting in an office of another team guy, Ryan Williams, right, who tried to scale his business and it put him underwater. And he ultimately learned this lesson like the super hard way. And he's like, he's resilient and he's tough and he never quits like all team guys. And he's digging himself out of a hole from trying to scale too fast and put multiple warehouses and stuff. And he said, no, no, no. Like sometimes scale is not the answer. Like sometimes right sized and profitability is actually the answer.
And I think in today's world of AI, AI is awesome, but people appreciate genuine human interactions, and I can't scale that. You know what I mean? So it's been, I've got a lot of really loyal customers and awesome relationships, and they use me over and over. And, they come to expect a certain level, and we do it. It's awesome.
Amazing. We have this little section we like to do, rapid fire. I call it, it's like shooting steel.
Send it.
Yeah. All right. Best investment you ever made?
Uh, Asking Steve Gattina to be my mentor. That was the best investment, straight up.
Solid. Dumbest financial mistake?
Dumbest financial mistake. I don't know. I'm pretty tight up my finances. I'm sure I've done something stupid here and there, but let me pass on that
All
one.
right, pass. SEAL skill or team guy skill that's been the most useful in business?
Understanding risk. In the teams, we don't shy away from risk. We understand risk, and people who are entrepreneurs like that. They're like, "Oh, you're not afraid of it?" Like, no, risk is opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the follow on too is like it's managed risk. So we have like contingency planning. We're really good at that in the teams and stuff. So we know that if things go south, right, we know how to get kind of left of bang and take a different course of
And
action.
you know what? We're Spartans too. Like, you want me to live on beans and rice for a while? Not a big deal.
That is a good SEAL skill.
That's straight up. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
super
I
happy
mean,
with it.
like, look, there's a million different ways to do it, but there's a lot of entrepreneurship that's about like top ramen, you know?
So when my son's mom and I got a divorce, I gave her everything and just left. And we didn't have a lot of money, but lobster season, I was just grabbing lobster all the time. So we ate lobster. My son thinks lobster is poor people food because we didn't have any money, so we would just eat lobster and like mac and cheese was like our everyday.
Yeah.
Because I got to grab those out of the ocean for free. That's
Yeah.
how I did it.
Yeah. I love how your son, like his poor people food is lobster
That's
mac
what
and
he
cheese,
thinks. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you get that at like Michelin
yeah,
star restaurants,
yeah.
Amazing. Is there a book that changed your mindset or a book that you think is
Absolutely.
mission critical?
Never Split the Difference. Yeah, it's so good just about negotiations. And, that guy, he went to the Harvard negotiation course, the same one we did. And then he also was an FBI negotiator, and his stuff is really good. I really like Chris Voss.
Hmm.
Yeah, Chris
Yeah.
Voss. Yeah.
Excellent. And as you've built and grown beyond the Brotherhood, I know you started off in suicide prevention, right, as a sort of like front sight focus. But what have you found to be like the most key essential elements to helping team guys retain resiliency and mental health?
Okay, so team guys are fiercely independent. They don't want handouts. You know what they need? They just need a leg up. That's it. And then they turn around and send the ladder back down. And that's this flywheel we're trying to build. So what happens is like you're getting out of team, you don't have any opportunity. I'm going to hook you up. And those guys are just getting their head above water, and they're like, okay, I'm ready to help out. It's like, wait, let's get you and your family on solid. I got to tell them, wait, wait, wait. And then once they start doing well, then they're doing fundraisers for us. They're giving back so fast, and it's starting to move. The first year, obviously, guys we're getting settled. The second year, now we've got guys in the third year. Our first class, I was supposed to take in 3 to 5. We took in 23. Second class, we took in 22. We're about to open up the doors right now and take in. We've got 14 vetted, ready to go. We'll be at 20 before the year. And these guys are already starting to give back. And so that, I think, is kind of the magic, because I want this to live beyond me. This is not a character. This is a brand. And these guys that we bring in, we screen them for character. We want guys who want to give back. And that's what we have.
And for guys who you identify in the program who are built like you, who you think are sort of tailor made to be entrepreneurs, what's your advice? How do you tell them how to start?
I tell them just start. Just take that first step, whatever it is. Now, a lot of guys have a pension. So if you have a pension or you have disability, at least you have a little bit of a safety net. You got to make sure your family's taken care of, but just take a step in that direction, whatever that is. And maybe, you can't live on it the first year, but you get a little bit of work. You find some efficiencies. You start to get a customer base. And now maybe we can step off that other job that you had, but you don't have to do it all at once. You can just start. Just do something.
Yeah, I think a lot about sort of systemic or institutional advantages that veterans have in contrast to their socioeconomic peers who might be working in the private sector. And there's plenty of disadvantages. Sometimes the pay rates aren't as high and stuff like that. But there's also plenty of incumbent advantages. Like if you have TRICARE and your health care is taken care of,
Huge.
that gives you an extraordinary competitive advantage over your civilian peer in terms of risk taking.
Think about the commissary. Like the food here in San Diego is insane. I grow most of my own food. I grow or kill it. I have chickens, I have bees, or I have a garden. But if you have to shop here, oh my gosh, the commissary is it's like 30% of what you'd spend. Yeah.
Yeah. Although I've heard that they're actually looking at privatizing the commissaries. Have you seen this?
Geez. No, yeah. I haven't.
So better take advantage of that, perk while you still can. And then Jimmy, finally, you're doing so much incredible stuff. How can people connect with you, whether it's on Beyond the Brotherhood or whether it's Mayday?
I have one social media. It's LinkedIn. Please hit me up on that. It's good. You'll know what's going on with Mayday. You'll know what's going on with Beyond the Brotherhood. We have a website, beyondthebrotherhood.org. Super important. That really is my life's passion. Like if you want to get involved, this is a small 501c3. Like I say, we're not scaling. We do 20-something dudes a year, but you can really make a real impact in someone's life. It's not going to just black hole you dump in. Our pay is almost nothing. Like the guys are working super hard for not a whole lot of money because this is a passion project. So, when you give a donation, it's not the first $400,000 isn't going to the CEO, right? It's like this money is going to the guys. They have what's called a program percentage rate, and this, you know what that is. So it's how much of every dollar goes to the cause. 67% is considered really good in 501c3. We were 71 our first year, 89 last year. So you used to give $1 to us. We're putting that money to work where it's supposed to go. We're not just running this big bureaucracy that's like a self-licking ice cream cone.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much. Like it's so crazy. We were running side by side 25 years ago.
I was in a bush with you in SQT. I remember this.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
Because you were in 237. I was right after you.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we are parallel tracking in the private sector. And it is so awesome to see you thrive, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much for connecting with me. And, maybe we got some work coming up together. I appreciate you.
Jimmy, thank you for being so inspirational, continuing to lead from the front. For our audience, thank you for joining us today. I hope you're as inspired by this conversation as I was. A reminder to stay driven, stay tactical, and I hope you're taking notes, but more importantly, I hope you're taking action. All right, thanks for locking in with us today. Shout out to Siebert.Bauer and Siebert Financial for supporting our journey. We'll be back next week with another powerhouse conversation, more founders, more builders, and leaders who are playing offense in life and in business. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel for exclusive content and extended cuts of your favorite episodes. Until next week, stay tactical, stay driven.